Hello and welcome to Mind Shifters Radio. I'm Tim Hayes. I'm your host for the first hour. And today is Wednesday, November 26th, 2025. As always, we're grateful to everyone who's joining us here today, whether you're listening live or through the archives, as we spend another couple of hours teaching and supporting people in using some of the most powerful, effective, efficient, and accessible tools they've ever encountered. These tools are available absolutely free through the tireless efforts of Dr. Michael and Jeannie Ryce on the website at whyagain.org. If you go to that website and click on the two words that say Start Here in the upper left-hand corner, it will take you to a page where you can download and read Chapter 24 of Dr. Michael Ryce's book. His book is titled, Why is This Happening to Me Again? And that chapter of the book contains a narrative description and explanation of the primary tool in this work. That tool is called the Reality Management Wake-Up Sheet or Worksheet, sometimes called the Wake-Up Sheet. And it's a tool I've been using to great effect for over 21 years now to improve the quality of my life and most of my relationships, and to turn any negative emotional experience I have into part of the infallible guidance system that each and every one of us has been given. You can also download the actual worksheet process itself. It's a simple PDF file. Click the link, download it, print it off, copy it as often as you'd like, and use it over and over again absolutely free. You can also download from that page a whole host of audio files of shows just like this one where people have been stepped through the worksheet process. And if you choose to listen to them even repeatedly, they can serve as a powerful tutorial for you to help you get maximum benefit from these tools in the shortest amount of time possible. You can also go to your app store and type in the three words Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And if you choose to do that before you're done typing the word forgiveness, you'll see the glowing heart icon. If you tap on it, it will let you download an app that has the Reality Management Worksheet in it. It's a completely free and private app. It contains the Dragon Klingon game, which is a wonderful way to introduce these tools to even younger audiences. And we hope people do all of that soon and often, primarily because it tends to improve the quality of people's lives the more they actively apply these tools in their lives. And secondarily, it tends to prompt comments, questions, answers, and testimonials. If you have any of those to share with us, we greatly appreciate you doing so. You can email me at tjh@mindshifters-academy.org, or you can email Jeannie at jeanie@whyagain.org. That's whyagain.org. Or you can join us live if you're available on most weekdays from 11 to noon Central Time. Go to zoom.us. And once you're there, just enter the meeting ID number for our first hour here, which is 853-2357-4173. That's 853-2357-4173. If you do that, either through a browser window or call one of the many numbers they have available at Zoom, and enter that meeting ID number, if you call on the phone, you'll be automatically muted. So you can toggle in and out of the unmute with the *6 button on your phone. So let us hear from you. What's up? What's working? What's not working in your life? The big thing that I would offer today is the release of another powerful podcast by the We Can Do Hard Things people. Glennon Doyle and her sister and her wife are In this one, they're talking to Megan Watterson, who writes about the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And it's a powerful discussion. What I like about her specifically is that she has a clarity of purpose, I'll say, where she's not losing sight of the goal. The goal is her spirituality, her own work, her own path. And a lot of times when people get on a path like that, they get derailed by wanting to point out how everybody else has got it wrong. And what I get when I listen to her and read some of her books is just, listen, let's just come back to what works, what it was intended to be, what the truth of the situation was, and dig into the power that's been lost or hidden or distorted, and use it for the purposes of reconnecting to our true nature as love. And she says almost exactly those words verbatim. There's so much overlap with the idea that we talk about here on Mind Shifters Radio and in the support groups and in the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery and with Diedrich Wolsak's work. It's so similar. And it really, it offers for those who are willing to go there, who are willing to question everything they've been taught by their religions and their other spiritual teachings, it offers them an opportunity to just do what we do with all this work. Go inside and ask for your own source of insight, intuition, inspiration, wisdom, connection to your Creator, etc. And the working with the scroll that has been identified as the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and staying as close as she can to, what can be verified in terms of knowledge of the times and other scrolls that have been found, either in the Nag Hammadi library or the Dead Sea Scrolls caches, and when you're looking at it from the perspective of a scholar rather than a theologian, then what you're looking at is a way to just understand what actually happened, rather than trying to bend the data points to fulfill validating your belief system. And when you understand that everything that's been passed down as the Bible or the Holy Word has been seriously distorted and edited over the years by those who were in power, then it gets easier to just soften and back away from those old beliefs and at least start to entertain the possibility that there was something important that these people were trying to suppress. And it's important because it decentralizes power, essentially. Back in the day of the Roman Empire, the emperor decided to use religion and belief as a way to consolidate power. And the churches are ripe. They're rife with examples of this. It's not a fun thing to take a look at. But again, if I have a problem and I'm not willing to look at it, then I can't fix it. So just like churches for years would turn away from their problems with the child molestation that was happening, and they couldn't make a dent in the problem because they weren't admitting it was there. And anybody that got caught doing it was just reassigned and hidden and often put right back in a position where he or she could abuse minors again. So, you can't fix a problem that you won't admit you have. You can't reinstate or reconnect to your divine feminine energy if you don't realize that it's been hidden from you, or that you've been trained into believing there is no such thing, or that, in some realms, it's even people have chosen to label the divine feminine energy as evil because it's not in line with what the patriarchy wants you to believe. So, the book that they're discussing is Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. And Megan is Megggan Watterson. And that book is available on Audible. It's also available in print. And the subtitle of the book, Mary Magdalene Revealed, is titled The First Apostle, Her Feminist Gospel, and the Christianity We Haven't Tried Yet, by Megan Watterson. And you can find that in a podcast on We Can Do Hard Things podcast. It was titled Women's Voices So Dangerous They Buried Them, by Megan Watterson. That's the title of the podcast. And that is episode number, I don't know, I guess they're not numbering them the way they used to, because now they've gone to publish them on YouTube as well as the podcast platforms. So it was published one day ago. That's all they're doing. They're not giving the episode numbers the way they used to. So, comments, questions, answers. I know a little bit about Megan Watterson's book. I've read several books about Mary Magdalene and the Gospels. And of course, why would a culture want to suppress a whole group of people or class of people? Well, it's a fairly easy answer. It's all about power. It's all about control. And if we are willing to take a look and go back and recognize that the pattern we have in our humanity, in our human culture, is that whoever wins a war, whoever survives, they get to write the history, and they are often revising history to make it fit what they want it, their narrative, basically. They're just creating a story that says what they want it to say. I have a friend whose father would say on a regular basis, son, if the truth interferes with the story, tell the story. Well, we don't like to go there. We like to just know about the truth, because the truth, aside from the age-old adage that sets you free, it actually gives you access to things that you can't get any other way. It's this flow of life. It's this, the truth gives me access to a problem, so then I can work with whatever factors might be contributing to that problem that I have some control over, and I can actually get some resolution. But only the truth will do that, right? The fantasy that says, oh, that's not a problem, or oh, we fixed that last year, or oh, we've tried to fix that too many times and it can't be fixed, so let's just give up. All of those things, which are not the truth, leave me stuck. They keep me in a prison. Only the truth sets me free. Only the truth gives me the opportunity to start changing what I can change.
Tim?
Yes, Susan Bingham. Hello.
Hello. Well, Thanksgiving's almost here, and what you say, I have a very happy testimonial thing that I'd love to talk about for a minute.
Please do.
We have a Lehigh Valley Conference of Churches organization, and one of its offshoots is the Interfaith in Action Committee. And Tim Bingham, my husband, has been on that committee for a long time. This year they decided to put on an interfaith Thanksgiving service, and the rector of my church, since we have a refugee center where there are people of so many faiths going there, he wanted to host that service and also organize it. And Tim and I went last night, and I'm telling you, it was the most loving, hopeful, gorgeous interfaith service. And he, in the Episcopal tradition, we have a section in our worship service called Prayers of the People. And our rector got up into the ambo, and the prayers consisted of mentioning each of the religious groups that was represented there. And in each one, he recognized something unique and universally wonderful about the faith. So, for instance, I'll read this. We give thanks for our Baha'i brothers and sisters for their genuine openness and desire for unity. We give thanks for our Buddhist sisters and brothers for their sense of peace and relinquishing of self, etc. There was a Native American, there was a humanist. He even had I'll read the humanist one. We give thanks for our humanist brothers and sisters for their emphasis on the dignity and worth of all persons. The overriding feeling, many people got up, and our rector was smart. He said, all right, we have so many speakers here. Nobody speaks for more than 2.5 minutes. And they stuck to it. One rabbi forfeited his speech, brought his guitar up into the ambo, and proceeded to sing a klezmer song that was so compelling that the whole audience started humming along with it. And it wasn't a familiar one, but it was simple. It was like a teze type of thing. Each speaker that got up, they were wearing their traditional dress. We had an imam get up into the pulpit and intone the call to worship. I'm telling you, the vibration was so sweet and so loving. I was thinking, this is a direction we can go in, and partly it's because we have the internet. We got connected enough to be able to pull this off. The church was full of all these people from every kind of tradition, and they all, I would say they were all mystics. They had all come to the heart of their own religion and had no interest in proselytizing at all, but just to be together. And it was beyond belief. So I just had to report this as a way.
Fabulous.
It was absolutely wonderful. There are no words for it. So there's hope. I know what you say about the church, but I think some churches are beginning to get it and starting to join up with others as if there's really no difference between us except flavor. And at the bottom of it all is love for one another. That's it. So I just wanted to say that today. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Susan, happy Thanksgiving to you. And I just wanted to say that our church has the same type of group. We call it SJAM, which stands for Social Justice Advocacy Ministry.
Mm.
And we had a similar event this week.
Mm.
And so the way you described the felt sense of the gathering was perfect.
Oh.
And what a beautiful thing to just bring into your heart, knowing that really good things are happening in the world.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sally, I've been wanting to ask you, and this is a veer off to your reporting. You had this terrible bellyache the last time we talked. How are you?
I am so much better.
Good.
It took 27 hours for it to subside, and a lot of tears and a lot of grief was processed. And then after that, I've never had a bellyache ever again. So it was a very rare experience because I'm not one who gets belly aches, but that one was a big deal.
Wow. Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad to hear. I'm so glad to hear you're okay. I saw your name on the radio show here and there, and I thought, hey, Sally, say something, but you didn't. So I'm forcing you to speak.
Yes, it is good, and I will be in touch with you. I think I have your number now. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Love it.
And
Okay.
thank you for supporting me.
All right. You're welcome. Not a problem. Okay, Tim, I'm going to mute myself. Carry on.
Oh, no, don't leave me here alone.
Are you kidding? You're not alone. You can always call on us. You know, you have this thing about thinking you can't call on us, and some people really need to be called on or want to be called on because they're shy or reluctant or they haven't quite finished their thought, and it doesn't matter because you sort of bring it out of people. I would like to just suggest that you can do that. If you want people to say something and nobody's piping up, you can say, all right, Sally, talk.
And we already have somebody who does that.
I know. Sorry about that. Yep.
Yes, you do.
It's a preference, right? It's a personal
Yeah.
preference, and it's okay either way. Yeah? And what I will make the commitment to do is what I've been doing all along, which is do this as long as it's comfortable and do it in a way that I'm comfortable with. And if that fits well for people, then great. If not, that's okay too. They can change the channel or go be occupied some other way.
Well, I'm glad you just said you're comfortable, because that's what I felt is maybe you weren't so comfortable sometimes. Maybe you are. So it's nice to know you are.
Well, yeah, but when you know, it's one of these deals where life is this constant change thing, right? So I'm comfortable, and I'll try and get comfortable with however it unfolds. And as life unfolds, there's discomfort in it from time to time, and it's what one of the cores of the teaching that we're promoting here is it's what I choose to do with that. How I choose to experience it, interpret it, and respond to it, that's what creates my experience of life, not the actual event.
Right.
So I might have some times where I'm on the radio show, and boy, I really wish somebody would speak up, and yet I'll get comfortable with that and find something else to say or do. I'll put the invitation out there as I do on a regular basis. Please feel free to interrupt, even if I'm reading something or on a monologue. And then people do what they do. And it's worked well enough for almost 15 years now. So
I love the way you said, I'm fine either way. And as I'm moving into this holiday time with my daughter on the way and people on the way and pies in the oven, I'm thinking about how wonderful it is to be fine with whatever shows up.
And my daughter was saying, well, I'm a little stressed. I got this and this and this, and this might not happen. And I'm like, that's fine. And, people are doing their people things. And I'm like, it's fine. It's all good. It's like a really nice way to roll.
And I think it's only possible, I've only been able to do that as I cancel all the goals I'm holding, as I keep the early warning signs, monitored in my body for any kind of stress or upset, and then use the tools, even the simple tools of taking a breath and turning the focus inside and asking myself how I'm creating that emotion or that tension. Even if I don't go into the full-blown, reality management worksheet or a round of EFT tapping, just that process that has me just understanding, hey, look, this is the miracle of life expressing in, through, as, and around me in this moment. And everything I do to fight against it just creates more suffering in my life. And everything I do to interpret it positively, and if Michael Ryce were he might say reset Rachma and Kuba, filters in the brain over intention and perception, and reset them to where those filters only allow in loving interpretations of the unfolding of life. And they only allow me, if those filters are set, to participate lovingly, respectfully, in a grateful way with life. And, if you come right back to very early on in the Course in Miracles and the Way of Mastery, they start talking about how this process of perception that we do as humans has been so programmed, right? Through our language, through our culture, through our family beliefs, that we are many layers removed from the actual flow of life, from the experience of what the Way of Mastery calls that shimmering radiance, which is the energy that's underneath the pictures that your mind shows you. Because the pictures your mind shows you a picture of a person, and that person's way over there and completely separate from you. And maybe their skin color isn't the same as yours, or they don't have hair on their head, and that means they're not as smart. If they were smart enough, they'd know how to grow hair.
There's a wake-up sheet in there, Tim.
But the mindset that develops when you literally break out of all of the thoughts about what should be and how you should be and how the world should treat you, when you break out all of that, you just because that's all just the thought structure, that's ego, right? It's what we've accumulated over the years, and just break out of it, put it down, walk away from it, cancel the goals, whatever you want to say. It opens the possibility for an entirely different experience of this thing we call life, of the flow of life events. And that's one of the things they talk about in this podcast that I'm recommending from We Can Do Hard Things with Megan Watterson. It's a good interview. It's a very good discussion, and you can understand how, I agree with what Megan talks about in terms of you could not build a church, you could not build a religion and get people to see you as really important in their life, you and your church and your teachings. You can't get them to do that if you adhere to what Yeshua taught and what Mary Magdalene, who was, like the premier teacher aside from Yeshua in that group. They were basically equals in their own eyes, and there were, things that Yeshua has said about the clarity with which Mary Magdalene was able to view the world and do her work. So there's a wonderful set of teachings there that would literally prevent somebody from building a church. The three of them that are in the scroll that I've mentioned before are, the first one is, the kingdom of heaven is not outside of you, it's inside of you. And that's in teachings from the Thomas Gospel and the Philip Gospel and other, elsewhere in the Gospel. It's kind of hidden where Yeshua says, look, if you think heaven is in the air, the birds are going to get there first. If you think it's down in the ocean, the fish are going to get there first. It's inside you. That's point number one. Point number two is there's no such thing as sin. You're not sinning against your God. You're not sinning against some external power authority. Sin is just energy that's off the mark. Sin is just an attempt that didn't hit the bullseye. And the third piece that's in the fracture of the scripture they have from the scroll of Mary Magdalene's Gospel is, don't make any rules beyond what I've already given you. If you just adhere to those three things, you can't build a church where you have people giving you 10% or more of their income and coming to you for absolution of your sins and coming to you for all of these powerful sacraments you're going to bestow upon them out of your benevolence, all of which is just thought structure and layers of ego and power, and that are really not any part of a good spiritual path. They're just part of a power structure and a materialistic focus. So, thoughts?
So, Tim,
Yes.
in a way, I totally agree with that. I don't think, I never thought that Jesus planned to form a church. And churches, if they're going to work at all, have to be a way to set up a center for community to come together and do loving things and be very open. And that's the only way I think a church would work, if it's going to work at all. That doesn't seem to be alarming to hear that.
It doesn't seem to be alarming to hear what?
That Mary Magdalene is setting or is suggesting that there would be no church, if I heard you right. Maybe I didn't. A church just never was intended.
Yeah, the point is that there's a tremendous amount of benefit to be gained by community.
Yeah.
And support.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not built as a power structure for the elite few.
Right.
That's what every church is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But the church is not the community of people. It should be, right? But it's really the teaching. It's what it's been identified as the Catholic Church or the Lutheran Church or the Methodist Church or the Baptist Church or, the Jewish synagogues and the...
Right.
So, the point we're trying to make with all of these teachings and observations is that we're all connected. So even if we're not meeting in person, everything we're doing, the energy we're choosing to pour our mind energy into, the thought patterns, it's a ripple effect that's going out into this quantum soup that we call our lives, the quantum potential, all that is, our world, whatever you want to call it. We're sending out contributions based on our life force, based on the power that flows through us. And we don't get a chance to turn it off or not be there. We just get to choose what flavor of energy we're going to spread around.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I agree. So, sorry, I shouldn't have even spoken. There wasn't anything to say
I
there.
think it's a good point. It's a good point to be made, because sometimes when people think they hear something pointed out about how a religion isn't or has some negative effects, then they think that people are essentially trying to isolate us or keep us from meeting in public, or because we have such power. No, it's about just pointing out that if you're meeting and giving your power away to some external authority, it's not as useful as if you're meeting as a communal group where you understand everybody in the group is fed by the same wireless power source,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody in the group is carrying their own baggage of false opinions and ego and trauma energies and hopes and fears and genetic, energetic bloodlines, etc. If you recognize that, then there's the kind of thing you just described, your interfaith service. I mean, I've been to several of those in this community. They're lovely, and the critical point is, why isn't that happening every Sunday or every day of the week somewhere?
Totally. Yeah.
Well, it's not happening because you can't get money from your constituents if you're preaching somebody else's gospel or somebody else's set of rules. So it's a wonderful thing. I hope it happens more and more often. These interfaith meetings are fabulous because what they point out is every point you just made, Susan, we're all the same. We're all just walking each other home. It's when you get into beliefs and dogma and ritual that it really starts to separate people, and that's where the negative nasties come in. So, comments, questions, thoughts, answers, soliloquies. I had somebody else say they were absolutely thrilled to hear the reading of the boy and the mole and the fox and the horse, because they had a history of reading that to their grandchild and loving that book. So what shall we do with the rest of our time? Do we have anybody who wants to give a Thanksgiving presentation? I have tremendous thanks for the tools. I have thanks for the gift of life. I have thanks for the blessing that podcasts are in my life. I mean, I used to watch the television show Star Trek and think, wouldn't it be great if you could just sit down at a computer and ask it whatever you want to know and it would give you all the answers? Well, essentially, my life has evolved into that. From that time when I was that little 4 or 5-year-old boy kneeling in front of a black and white TV, I'm at a place now in my life where, with Google and with these podcasts and with the algorithms working, to my advantage because I'm aware of how they work, to send me things that are of like mind or send me things that challenge me in a certain way. So I have gratitude for that. At the same time, I recognize that people have a problem with being addicted to their screens and their social media, and so it isn't, just all one way. It's a double-edged sword, as are most of the powerful tools that we encounter. And I have gratitude for anybody who participates in the support groups and on the internet shows and actively uses the tools to improve the quality of their own experience of life, because that's a gift you give to everyone. Self-wise, we like to call it, rather than selfish.
Tim?
Yes.
Oh, if somebody else want to speak, I'll get off. That's fine. I've already
You
spoken.
you go, Susan. I'm patient.
If it's on this exact topic, I was going to go on a little tangent. So, Sally, take it over, and I'll come in later.
Oh, goody. Well, I get to express gratitude for this show and gratitude for the way I've watched myself grow in these 6 months that I've been with you all. And gratitude for meeting and getting to know Guy Finley and getting to know, reacquainted with Michael and Jeannie and getting reconnected with some fabulous material from all over. You know, I think of Tim as a butterfly, you know, just pollinating the world with all this really important connected material. And of course, so many other gratitudes that I can witness my own aging with joy and ease rather than somebody said to me in my sailing club yesterday, you caught my attention when we were out on the boat. You just put it out there, your age. And you didn't have any qualms about it. And I looked at him like, why should I? I am what I am. I'm grateful for every rotation around the sun and every experience that I've gotten to witness. And like Tim, I sat in front of the black and white TV myself and have watched technology be able to tell me where I'm going. Well, you know, I remember saying, you know, I need a device that can help me navigate better on land. I'm good at sea and I'm good in the air, but I got a little need for more support on the land. And sure enough, there was this great thing called GPS. So that's about it for me. There's a ton, oh my gosh, there's so much gratitude in me every day. And with that, I'll pass.
All right. Well, that's a good list of things to be grateful for. Yeah, it's just, I remember sitting and thinking as my grandmother was 89, sitting and thinking about how much her life has changed. And her life had changed far more in the years that she'd been alive, especially the years during my life. Her life changed at an astronomical pace. And I thought, and we would have conversations about it, yeah, we're never going to see the kind of change that my grandmother had seen, because she went from, being born when they didn't have electric lights in cities and there wasn't any radio or TV and all of that. You didn't have airplanes that people flew on commercially and things like that. It was just amazing. All the things that happened in her life. Guess what? Mine's starting to look the same. So the accelerated level of change, the rate at which change is happening, some would say, is accelerating. And that comes out of the documentary or the lecture. It's really just a movie of a lecture that was given by Shel Lunghold, and he was talking about the Mayan calendar to a group of people up in Alaska. And the point of that lecture is that time isn't speeding up. Time is that consistent thing, and yet one of the main points in that lecture was that the rate of creation itself, the rate of movement of creation unfolding, is increasing. So who knows? My kids might get to be about my age and think, wow, I never imagined that life would have changed this much in this short a period of time. With all of that change at that materialistic level, what a lot of people like to be aware of and point out is that collectively we haven't really changed that much as a species, as a consciousness. And that's really worth my effort. Really working at making substantial, lasting changes in the way I utilize my consciousness, the way I appreciate the gift of life and consciousness. That's effort that pays enormous dividends in my life, and I invite everybody into that process. And it's a process that comes, that only gives its rewards to those who come empty-handed. Right? If you go with your arms full of stuff, right, who in their right mind would drive to a flea market or, the world's largest garage sale? They would go there for a weekend, a Saturday. They would drive there in a car that's pulling a trailer where every inch of the car and trailer is completely packed full. And they get out of the car and they load their arms up with so much stuff they couldn't possibly carry one more thing, and then go walk around the flea market. No one would do that, because if they see something they like, they can't take it home with them. They can't get anything new if they're all loaded up with everything they've already been through or believed or pour their mind energy into. So the only way to get the gifts of life that it has to offer is to be constantly emptying yourself in this flow of life, which is give and receive, and constantly asking to be shown, constantly being in that learning mode rather than that knowing mode in the intellectual sense of knowing, or holding on like a pit bull to a belief system. The only way, I just have to read it just the way you wrote it, because some things I say a little better than somebody else, but sometimes the original is just too spot on. We're in the third lesson of the Way of Mastery, and Yeshua says, you know what? I was just a little guy. I began to realize that the greatest gift that I could ever receive would only come to me as I choose to surrender, to give up, to cancel every goal, every perception, every thought, every belief, drop every traumatic energy. As I give up every perception that I might conjure up about you, my brother and sister, or the world around me. I can't see the world around me accurately if I'm clinging to my process of perception or my beliefs. I began to realize that the greatest gift I could ever receive, I don't have to go hunting for it. I can just sit here and it will come to me. And it will only come to me if I cancel every goal, every perception, every belief, each new moment. Because every time I think I know the story and I think I know something and I hold to my beliefs, I put another layer of obstruction between me and the actual flow of life and my ability to perceive life. And it's a picture, it's an image, it's a thought that literally obstructs my view of you. He calls it here a veil. He says, when I was just 9 years old, I began to awaken to exactly what I'm describing to you. As my father would take me to sit with the elders, and as he would read from the Torah to me, I began to be compelled by something within. Something was speaking to me within. And by the way, this whole thing about Mary Magdalene Gospels and the conversation with Meg Watterson will be all about learning to tune in to your own access to this higher wisdom. But I began to be compelled by that something within. Something began to speak to me. Something began to let me know that beneath all of the judgments and perceptions that I could create of another, there was something radiant and shimmering, just waiting to be discovered. I began to be feeling different than my peers. I began to be preoccupied with inner things. And as I would listen to the elders speak, I would often feel as though I had drifted far away from where they were. And pictures would come to me, and thoughts would come to me, and feelings would come to me. I didn't have any way of understanding them. I hadn't assimilated them into my being, but something compelled me. I kept asking, how might I discover how to see only that shimmering radiance? I just want the actuality of life. I don't want all of this cover-up. I don't want all of this distortion. I asked the question, would it be possible for me to see my brothers and sisters as the Creator sees all of us, or as my Father sees His children? And I discovered that the way to see with the eyes of Christ begins with the acceptance that I, as a creator, having been created in the image of God, the Creator, I literally choose every experience and call it to me. I create the veils through which I try to then view creation, through which I distort my perception of creation. I discovered that if I shift my perception just slightly, I began to be seen as someone who was rebelling against the teachings of my Essene elders, because I began to move away from this idea of striving for something like God or connection or importance or relevance or holiness, and not striving for perfection, but I settled back and worked on cultivating allowance. I'm going to allow God to find me. I'm going to allow life to teach me. I'm going to allow myself to be part of the flow of life rather than some kind of a boulder in the middle of the stream. He writes here, I discovered that if I looked upon my perceptions, my feelings, and my behavior exactly as they were, without overshadowing them with my perceptions and judgments and labels, if I could teach myself to embrace everything with innocence, then the veils began to be dissolved from my mind.
Tim, what
Yes.
page are you on in chapter 3?
I'm it's way into this. It's the first page.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And this last bit I was reading goes into the second page. I started with the third paragraph on the first page, where it says, when I walked upon the earth as a man. And here, this last part, I'm about halfway through the next page, which in my book is labeled page 25.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And I just sit back, I read a book like that, and I sit back, and sometimes my thoughts go to how ridiculous this is, that the system is set up so much, that the one thing we've been taught in our culture to rely on exclusively is the one thing that literally keeps us from experiencing life more fully, and that is my thoughts about it. How backwards can this be? The one
Exactly.
thing that keeps me from having a more powerful, deep, rich, wonderful experience of life is my thoughts about it. And yet I've been raised in a culture that's told me that what I do with my thoughts is the absolute most important thing. And if I don't give people the right answer, I get punished. And when I do give the right answer, I get rewarded. And I get almost exclusively punished into giving up my awareness of energies other than logic and other than the solid materialistic world. If I go to my grandma or my mom or dad and say, I just saw, great grandma walking through the bedroom and she told me to be careful where I ride my bike tomorrow, I am shouted down almost exclusively. And yet, what does it tell the child? You had this experience, you clearly got a message from someone, it was clearly loving and well-intentioned. Why would that be met with anger or ridicule or negativity in any way? Well, it's because it's the way the culture is set up. And I don't want to attack anybody about that. I just want to get around to fixing what can I fix within me? Can I shift the focus away from the knowing, intellectually knowing, and into the gnosis? One of the things that you might hear if you listen to this Megan Watterson interview is that one of the things Dr. Michael Ryce does is he's kind of built a platform. Part of his platform is the anti-Greek part of his platform. And it's really not as accurate as Michael would like to believe. And so while it's a mechanism that helps him clarify his position by describing another position, he's not exactly being accurate in his description of the Greeks. They weren't the violent brutes and nothing else. I mean, they had the idea of gnosis, which is this experiential learning. They had a bunch of other awarenesses about an internal life that Michael doesn't refer to. As a matter of fact, Michael talks about the opposite of it. But if you have that tuned in, as you're listening to the Megan Watterson interview on the We Can Do Hard Things podcast, you'll hear some of, there was aspects of this in almost every culture. And due to the politics and due to the power grabs and things over the centuries, it's been lost or hidden, actively hidden. And it's there for us to rediscover. So, rather than spend a bunch of energy on negative emotions about who did this and why was it hidden, I'm all for just lifting the bushel baskets off the light and enjoying the light.
Amen. Beautiful. Well said.
So I hope that's useful. I hope you enjoy that. If we get together on, I will not be here tomorrow. I'm working with friends on a Friendsgiving, and that will be my middle of the day. Will be busy with other things, but I will be back on Friday. And if you want to listen to that podcast and have a discussion about it, I'd be happy to. In the meantime, I will just remind us all that we come from love. We're made of the stuff we call love. We actually are love, and everything else is false. And I've been observing that every single time things don't go the way I think they should, they always work out better than I ever thought they could. Blessings.